Hello everybody, welcome. We continue to read Robert Spalding's book, Stealth War, When China Took Over While American Elite Slept. Robert Spalding retired from the U.S. Air Force as a brigadier general after more than 26 years of service. He completed his career as the Senior Director for Strategic Planning to the President at the National Security Council and was the Chief Architect for the National Security Strategy. He is the former China strategist for the Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff and the Joint Staff at Pentagon, as well as a senior defense official and defense attaché to China. He earned his doctorate in economics and mathematics from the University of Missouri and is fluent in Mandarin. Chapter 5: The Digital Battlefield. China has replicated its geographic defensive cocoon in cyberspace, just as its remote distance from U.S. allies protects it from military vulnerability. The Great Firewall of China services as a digital fortress, a closed internet system that is difficult to attack. In the West, the internet was built for connectivity. China, in keeping with the CCP's rigid, authoritarian, sword police mentality, and driven by its understanding of data as a strategic weapon, constructed a cyber defense system that can deny connectivity. In other words, its firewall exists to block and censor sites the CCP seem dangerous. Furthermore, if forces outside the firewall launch denial-of-service attacks, conduct targeted malware campaigns, or attempts any other hostile cyber assault, operations that the digital wing of the PLA perform every day, the Chinese authority can deny access within China. The People's Liberation Army is not a national army per se. It is the official security wing of the CCP. Therefore, PLA Unit 6139, the Army's massive cyber warfare division, is a politically sanctioned hostile military force built to blitz the West day in and day out. This cyber unit has become central to China's unrestricted warfare strategy. It is the weapon that allowed China to say, "We are not going to use our armed forces at all. Instead, we'll use our cyber warriors as destabilizing agents to undermine rival economies and political systems." The goal? To obtain and use influence to force other nations to cede to its way of looking at the world, how to organize society, what rights citizens should have, what economic decisions that benefit China will be made. To achieve this, China employs millions of its citizens as hackers and internet monitors. In 2018, numerous published reports revealed that the government was paying tens of thousands of citizens 50 Chinese cents, the equivalent of 7 US cents, each to write an individual post promoting party policy. The payment amount gave rise to a new phrase, the 50 cents party, which was used by critics to describe blind fealty to CCP policy. By 2013, the new numbers had swelled. Official Chinese media report that the propaganda wing of the CCP had hired 2 million public opinion analysts. That number doubtless climbed, aided by an estimated 10 million students volunteers, who also engage in monitoring and disinformation work, both at work, home, and foreign websites. Meanwhile, the PLA's force of hackers launches assault against U.S. companies, government agencies, political parties. Because of the diffuse nature of the internet, where a hacker in Beijing can root his computer to make it appear as if he is located in, say, Latvia, you might think it is difficult to ascertain where these attacks originate. But in many instances, the source is evident because of easily identifiable patterns to certain attacks. For example, American businesses have noticed that a cyber barrage will stop promptly at a set time every day, 11 p.m. in New York, which is lunchtime in China. An hour later, like clockwork, the Chinese cybernauts, having eaten, resumed their attacks. And guess when the strikes stop for 14-hour periods. At 4 a.m. Eastern Time, the end of the workday at PLA's digital sabotage bunkers. But the goals of the PLA are wide and varied. Stealing technical plans is great for specific purposes that, like building a sophisticated wind turbine or a patented chemical compound, can help destroy industry rivals, drive huge profits, and further strategic goals. But stealing data in bulk and accessing email can be even more valuable, unleashing a trove of information to be used broadly to achieve influence. At this most obvious level, accessing someone's emails or texts can be used for blackmail. We've seen this time and again in the West. Gaining access to nude photos and private messages that expose financial wrongdoing or embarrass sexual shenanigans are obvious tools to increase influence. There are, however, many more subtle and complex operations going on. When a hotel chain's customer database is compromised, when a company's employee directory is hacked, when credit reports are stolen, all these elements can be cross-indexed and mined to identify targets for influence campaigns. Key corporate players can be identified. Their business trips can be traced, exposing what companies might be working together or might be acquired, and any employees who are experiencing physical hardship. In this way, similar disparate data sets can provide actionable intelligence. Individuals and businesses can be targeted for strategic offensive to further CCP goals. This may sound drastic and complex, but it is part and parcel of the series exposed in Unrestricted Warfare. The bonding agent of data, what the book makes clear is the most potent weapon in the modern world, is an explosive substance. In the hands of PLA, digital assaults to access data are both destructive, entrapping and disrupting the West by setting off digital landmines, raids, and intelligence operations, and constructive. The results of these operations commonly harvested data allure China to accrue influence and power. I have already detailed a complex, high-stake sabotage operation in the chapter examining economic warfare. Here are two smaller examples of China's surveillance and undue digital influence. What is particularly chilling is how unsuspecting and completely innocent Americans would up caught in influencing power plays without even realizing it. The disturbing case of Rolls-Royce. In January of 2018, a 49-year-old man named Roy Jones was working at a customer engagement center of Marriott International in Omaha, Nebraska. One day, while helping manage the company's Twitter feeds, Jones saw that a Tibetan independence group had cited Marriott for listing Tibet as separate from China in a recent survey. Using Marriott's official rewards account, Joe liked the tweet. That one click, which Jones later claimed he didn't remember making, set off a sad and infuriating chain of events. One in which a major American corporation crumbled in the face of pressure from China. Although Twitter is banned in China, someone was clearly monitoring the feed maintained by the group promoting Tibetan independence and discovered two things. The Marriott chain had published a survey that might have implied Tibet was an independent country, and the Marriott Twitter feed liked the Tibet group's shout-out. These shocking events were flagged to the Shanghai Municipal Tourism Administration, which contacted Marriott representative to complain about the survey and the tweet. The tourism group then ordered the company to publicly apologize and seriously deal with the people responsible, according to the Wall Street Journal. 3 days later, on January 14, 2018, Marriott fired Jones. I was completely unaware of what was going on, Jones told the Journal. We were never trained in any of the social graces when it came to dealing with China. And Marriott's corporate leadership inventively was never trained in defending its employees or standing up for free speech. Yes, the company has a fiduciary responsibility to stockholders, but it also has a responsibility to its employees and to the nation that has allowed Marriott to flourish. Roy Jones wasn't just the victim of a poor management decision. He was the victim of China's social media surveillance capabilities and economic influence. What happened to him could, as we will see, conceivably one day happen to any American anywhere who does something Chinese authorities don't like. Football fan phishing. Thomas Everman, not his real name, worked at a mid-sized tech company. Anyone looking at Everman's LinkedIn page could learn his job title, the name of his employer, and the college he has attended. Anyone looking at his Facebook page could discover more personal details by looking at pages he had liked. He was, for example, an avid booster of his alma mater's football team. Not only had Everman liked the team's page, he had also identified himself as a follower of a fan newsletter devoted to the team. This kind of personal information shouldn't seem particularly revealing or dangerous. But in the hands of hostile Chinese cyber force, it was almost as good as having his sign-in name and password. One day, Everman got to work and noticed that a newsletter about the team had arrived in his email inbox. His company email address, by the way, could be determined by a Google search for his employer's email format. He opened it up. It looked just like the newsletter he subscribed to. And he started reading. An item contained a hyperlink bit of text linking to another article. But the item and the link were not what they seemed. They were part of a phishing attack. The item has been inserted by hackers. By clicking the item's accompanying link, Everman unwittingly unleashed a malicious code that opened a path to the company's computer system and gave the Chinese hackers access to corporate plans, emails, technical specifications. The company eventually realized that it had been compromised and hired an auditing firm to investigate. The firm traces the attack to Everman's computer and pieces together how the employee had been targeted using public available information, a bit of cunning and predatory technology. In the end, China was able to gain all the company's product designs and customer leads, as well as research and development. It then used this information to build a new company that would soon outcompete Everman's company, which is now struggling to survive. As I said, these two stories involve average Americans just trying to live their lives, who somehow got caught in China's relentless quest to steal and intimidate, to influence and dominate. Without extreme vigilance and pushback by the U.S. government and U.S. companies, there is nothing to stop this from happening to anybody, including you. Redeployment. While the PLA has been organizing millions of Chinese to help on the digital battlefield, the U.S. Army has been besieged with contractors, lobbyists, and politicians urging it to conduct business as usual. As Republican Adam Smith, chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, told reporters, I've got an idea that the military-industrial complex has the incentive to try to tell you that you need to spend more money on defense, but that incentive does not necessarily translate into national security needs. It simply translates into money. Smith isn't wrong. And what's worse is how the lobbying and vying for money is inefficient, misleading, and divisive. It takes our collective eye off the most pressing issues. In August 2018, the U.S. Cyber Command, Cybercom, created in 2009, was made one of 10 unified company units within the Pentagon. Its mission is defined as planning, coordinating, integrating, synchronizing, and conducting activities to direct the operations and defense of specified Department of Defense information networks and prepare to, and when directed, conduct full-spectrum military cyberspace operations in order to enable actions in all domains, ensure U.S. allied freedom of action in cyberspace, and deny the same to our adversaries. That is a good start, but it is not enough. Given the modern-day realities and the size of the U.S. economy, which runs through digital platforms, cyber protection needs to be paramount. Cybercom should become the sixth branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, joining the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marines, and Navy. With commensurate staffing and budget, it is that important. We need battle lines of digital warriors to protect our businesses and infrastructure. The defense of our nation's power may be more so. Without electricity, power grid is just as vital as the defense of our borders. Actually, it may be more so. Without electricity, our society cannot function. Phones won't charge. Computer will crash. Life support machines will fail. Banks can't operate. Cash registers won't ring. Traffic light won't work. People will perish. The cyber defense problem, like the problem of unchecked, irresponsible financing, like the problem of counterfeiting goods, like the problem of IP self, has been kicked down the road by our leaders. Meanwhile, the attacks of modern warfare, cyber war, continue daily. What are we going to do about it? Social cyber assault. Although the phrase psychological warfare is fairly recent, the concept has been around forever. A broader definition would be any verbal acts made to weaken an opponent by making them feel less confident or instilling fear or division. The digital world has provided a massive and supervised platform for doing just that. The tools of pre-digital propaganda relies, in general, on two stages of deployment. First, ostensibly damaging information was put out into the world. Pamphlets rained down, radio shows aired, articles ran, rumors were floated. Second, that information was shared and repeated. But other than bombarding a targeted population with messages, there are no way to gauge how effectively the propaganda was replicating. Filters dropped from airplanes could be collected and buried without being read, or they could be passed hand-to-hand like secret text. There was no way of ensuring the outcome. Now, in the unsupervised and policed Wild West of Internet and social network, psychological warfare has entered a new and potentially deadly realm. Social media is a tool to launch misinformation, division, and discord, to create false narrative, to destabilize, to interfere with the democratic process, to incite violence. It is a potent and subtle, almost undetectable form of poison. We have already seen what it can do to our national events. Russia had been identified as the bad central actor in the 2016 US presidential election, taking active measures during the campaign to sway independent and undecided voters in swing states against Hillary Clinton. While China has, as far as anyone knows, steered clear of meddling in the US elections, there is no question that it is committed to conducting influencing operations. This quote from a paper issued by the Cyberspace Administration of China's Theoretical Studies Center Group makes a case for ongoing assaults on behalf of the CCP. Enhance the guidelines of online public opinion, starting from the overall situation of the party and the state. Effectively propagandize achievements in reform and development, and economic livelihood and propaganda, and provide policy interpretation on the economic situation. Alleviate doubts and boost confidence. Actively use new technology and new application to effectively guide the progression of online public opinion, grasp the evolution and the laws of the online public sentiment, prevent hot issues from involving the economic and social livelihood of the people, and prevent mass incidents and public opinion from becoming online ideological patterns and issues. Play an important role in cyber comments and public opinion guidance, and make cyberspace cleaner. This is a government policy agency stating that the country's cyber forces should engage in active propaganda to shape public opinion. The document, dazzlingly entitled Deepening the Implementation of General Secretary Xi Jinping's Strategic Thinking on Building China into a Cyber Superpower, steadily advancing cyber security and informationization work. It's even more explicit about the end goal of web and social media posting. Online positive publicity must become bigger and stronger, so that the party's ideas always become the strongest voice in cyberspace. Kathleen M. Carley is an academic pioneer in the science of social cybersecurity. Hired initially as a sociology professor at Carnegie Mellon University, she now works at the Institute for Software Research within CMU School of Computer Science, where she studies, in a broad sense, the links between computation, organization, and society. More narrowly, she is now leading an academic in the study of social cyber warfare, how bad actors can use social networks like Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and other platforms to manipulate users, promote and influence political agendas, conduct disinformation campaigns, and sow division and conflict. All social media platforms do two basic things, according to Carley and her researchers: provide users with access to particular individuals and access to particular content. The platforms develop algorithmic prioritization schemes to determine what users see and what they read, as well as which messages are recommended and which other users are recommended as people to follow. Groups or nations that want to conduct influence campaigns construct messages and activate users, including programmed bots, to explore the prioritization logic of these services. By creating an army of bots that liked and repost messages to create an echo chamber of manipulative posts, bad actors can inject misinformation and sow division into a society with an unparalleled ferocity and speed. It's a psychological warfare nightmare come true. Carley confirmed China's intense interest in keeping social networks under surveillance, noting that the Media Lab at Beijing's Tsinghua University receives the entire feed of data from China's popular Weibo platform, that is, the posts, images, videos, memos, and metadata of its 450 million plus users to analyze. This level of surveillance, Carly remarked, is one of the reasons people with surveillance concerns in China use virtual private network (VPNs), which connect them to servers beyond what's known as the Great Firewall of China. Avoiding the authorities' spying methods, it is also the reason that the CCP has banned Chinese websites from offering VPN apps and subscriptions. Obtaining a social media platform's entire dataset is a dream come true for anyone engaged in cyber-social warfare. First, it allows you to map the entire social structure of the platform. You can see who is connected to whom. Second, by reverse engineering the data, you can ascertain the prioritization rules driving a platform. You can learn the criteria for ranking people on the platform and how their posts and likes and comments are weighted, how reposting gains traction, how tagging can help expand the reach of a post. This information can then inform and optimize future cyber warfare operations for maximal impact. Or, as Carly puts it, they basically construct messages and fake groups so they can exploit the prioritization logic of these technologies. Having access to the content before the algorithms are applied to it is also something like concerns Carly. If it flows to you before it arrives where it was supposed to be going, you could actually put in deep fakes. You could alter the routing and affect the dissemination. You could edit the content of someone's posts too. Expanding global influence. While much of Carly's work has centered on tracking Russia's campaigns to sow division and inflame tensions in the United States and Britain, in 2019, she began to examine how social media was manipulated to influence national elections in the Philippines and Indonesia, two countries that are relatively close to China. In the Philippines, a nation that until recently has historically strong ties to the United States, and that has the fourth largest population of English speakers in the world, President Rodrigo Duterte wrangled a pledge of $24 billion in investment, credit, and loans from China to upgrade his country's infrastructure. Since the agreement was announced in 2016, few upgrades has happened, and Duterte has come under fire for both overpromising and under-delivering, and for being duped by China. What we are seeing is an increase in the use of bots in the 2016 election, supporting Rodrigo Duterte and supporting the infrastructure development and these contracts, Carly says. I can't actually trace the IP address and say, definitely, I can guarantee that's coming from China, but those are certainly activities in the Chinese interests. Similarly, social media research in Indonesia, where Twitter is hugely popular, has detected bots activity pushing the candidacy of incumbent President Joko Widodo and his cronies, Carly reports. As head of the world's most popular Muslim nation, Widodo has been conspicuously silent about China's persecution of its Muslim Uyghur population. But he has not been shy about meeting 5 times with President Xi or welcoming Chinese investment, which increased 300% from 2015 to 2016, according to This Week in Asia. His government, as a 2018 AP report puts it, is reluctant to publicly criticize Beijing fearing it could jeopardize potential Chinese investment. If China is conducting influencing operations in Indonesia, it appears to be much more subtle than the Russian efforts. It definitely seems like they are not trying to sell division too hard, says Carly. They are definitely trying to shore up a message that we are the good guys, you should like us. You should like our approach. Our approach works better. That strategy hews closest to techniques we'll discuss in an upcoming chapter about politics and diplomacy. The Chinese are very good at twisting the narrative to make you think they are genuinely acting in your own best interest, and at convincing everybody to trust them. Of course, when it comes to trust issues, there may be no bigger game on the planet than 5G. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.